Hey everyone, I'm Bradford with the Penny Pinchers at Personal Finance. Today let's talk about quarterly tax estimates. What are they? Who do they affect? And how do you pay them? Now, quarterly tax estimates are something that are actually required by every single person that owes over $1,000 in federal income tax at the end of the year. Now, the reason that most people have never actually dealt with this is because their employer is actually taking care of it on their behalf. If you're a W-2 employee and you look at your pay stub, you know that every paycheck, your employer is taking out a certain amount of money for federal income taxes, Social Security, Medicare, then state taxes if it's applicable. Now, because your employer is taking out this money and sending it off to the IRS on your behalf, you've never actually had to deal with paying the quarterly tax estimates. But if you started picking up some contract work or started your own business, this responsibility is now squarely on your own shoulders. Let's talk about how they actually work. Like the name suggests, a quarterly tax estimate is basically you take how much money that you expect to owe for the calendar year and you divide it up into quarters. Unfortunately, the IRS doesn't do things that make sense, and so their quarters don't actually correspond to a calendar year quarters. And their quarters could actually be 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months. So for the first quarter, your payments are due on April 15th. The second quarter are on June 15th. The third quarter on September 15th. And then the final quarter of the year are due on January 15th of the following year. Now, since these dates don't really make sense to me because they don't correspond to anything else that makes logical sense, I just pin them up on the wall in my office so that way I make sure I keep track of them. Now that you know when the estimates are due, you need to figure out how much you actually have to pay. Now, to actually calculate how much you owe when it comes to your quarterly tax estimates, you're going to have to use IRS Form 1040-ES. Now, I put a link to that in the description as well as the pinned comment down below, and you're going to have to go through that and figure it all out. Basically, it's the same as when you normally would use a 1040 to figure out how much you owe for the total year, but this is going to take a couple extra steps so that way you can divide it up into the various quarters that the IRS uses to divide the year up. Now, don't worry if the numbers that you crunch aren't perfect. Again, these are just estimates. You're going to handle the actual final number when you do your annual tax return come April of the following year. But to make sure that you don't run awry with the IRS and get hit with any penalties and fees, you want to make sure you're meeting either one of two requirements, whichever number is actually smaller. So the first option available to you is making sure that you're paying at least 90% of the taxes that you owe for the current calendar year. And then the other option is paying at least 100% of the taxes that you owed for the previous calendar year. So long as you're meeting the minimum of one of those numbers, you're not going to have any sort of penalties or fees to worry about, and you're going to be in the clear. And then once you run those numbers, you have a few different options available to you with regards to how you actually pay them. You could write a check, send it in over the mail. You could call them over the phone and pay them with either an ACH or debit card or credit card. Or the last option is actually just pay online, which is what I'm going to walk you through right now. Now, when you navigate over to the IRS website, it's just www.irs.gov. You're going to go to the home page, and then I want you to click on the section right here that says pay. And that's going to bring you to this page. And now you have the option to basically pay with direct pay. So basically just doing an ACH from your bank, or you can pay by card or using a digital wallet. I'm going to do the pay now with direct pay because there's not any additional fees. Now this side, you can either look up a payment or make a payment. So you'll select make a payment. Now we're actually in the direct pay portal. From here, you have to select a reason for payment. So select the drop down, go to estimated tax, and then you're going to apply the payment to the 1040-ES, and the tax payment for the period is going to be 2022. Then select continue. You want to say yes, this is what it actually applies to. Hit continue again. Now here you can actually verify your identity. And so you're going to need one of two things to actually verify your identity with the IRS. You either need your social security number or your TIN, which is going to be on your actual tax return from the previous year. So you're going to select which tax year do you actually want to identify from. So I'm just going to select the previous tax year. Then I'm going to go in here and fill out all my applicable information. Once it's all filled out, make sure you select yes, I accept the Privacy Act and Paperwork Reduction Act, which is what's required to continue. Hit continue. And on this page, you're going to select how much you actually want to pay based on what you calculated with the 1040-ES. So in this one, let's just say I owe $1,000 for this quarter. Say I want to pay it for today. You're going to input your routing number, account number, make sure it's verified, select whether it's a checking or savings account. Then you're going to put in your email so that way you actually get a confirmation that the payment has gone through. And that's actually where I'm going to pause my application because they require you to actually put in a valid account and routing number. And I've already paid my quarterly taxes and I don't want to send the IRS any extra money. But from here, you make sure this amount's correct. You hit continue. It's going to take you to the next page. You're basically going to verify everything that you've input is correct. Then you're going to hit submit. And then it's going to take you to the last page. And that's going to be your payment confirmation. You want to make sure you save that. Go up to the top, hit like file, print, save as Adobe PDF, and keep that for your own records because this is your confirmation that you've actually paid your quarterly taxes. So if you have any issues with the IRS, this is your proof that you actually paid what you were supposed to pay on time. time. So really it's actually figuring out how much you actually owe in quarterly taxes that's going to take you the longest amount of time. When it comes to actually paying them when you use the online portal, it shouldn't even take you more than 2 minutes. So like dealing with quarterly tax estimates is definitely a pain in the butt. Once you actually do them a few times, it's really a simple process and it's just something you have to remember to do. Now, if you're going to keep doing all of your taxes yourself, you need to check out this playlist, which is going to walk you through all sorts of different IRS forms that you need to be familiar with when you're filing your own taxes, especially when you're doing business taxes. I want to thank you for watching with me today. And please remember, from your first penny to your first million, we're here to help.